How's it going, everybody? Today I want to talk about the combat system in the Culling on Xbox One. Now this is going to be a combat guide going over the various strategies and tactics that I use to be successful at the game. I'd like to start off with a disclaimer of sorts that this guide definitely won't cover every single scenario that you come across in the game. There's just no way. Sometimes the combat's so random that you just can't have everything covered in one video, but it should give you a general idea of everything to expect, as well as help you become a better player and help you win more fights. Now, in order to be successful at the combat and the culling, you have to be able to do a couple things. You have to be able to adapt and adjust on the fly, and you have to be able to back off and regroup if for some reason you're losing a fight. If you can't figure out what the other person's doing, you have to back off. You have to take a second and try and rethink your strategies and get back in there and try and turn the thing around. Now, the combat system in the culling basically boils down to a way more difficult game of rock, paper, scissors. And rock, paper, scissors, rock beats scissors, scissors beats paper, and paper beats rock. Well, same thing goes here. And in the culling, in the melee combat, a block will beat an attack and stagger the opponent. A shove will beat a block and stagger the opponent. And then an attack will make a shove useless because you'll end up hitting the person with an attack when they're shoving, and the shove basically did nothing. So in the end, it's a rock, paper, scissors type combat system where one thing beats another, but like I said, it's way more difficult because there's no countdown before you decide what you're going to do. You're just going to go at it and multiple things can happen at once. Now in this guide, I want to go over it as if weapons didn't matter. All weapons did the exact same amount of damage. They had the exact same attributes to them. So in the culling, the weapon types have different statistics on them. They can cause you to bleed, cripple you to make you slower, or expose you so you take more damage. But we want to throw all that out the window for this video just because that adds a whole level of complexity to it and would make it even more difficult to explain on a basic level. So we're going to level it out. All weapons do the exact same amount of damage and have the exact same statistics, so we don't have to worry about that when we're going over it. There are some different tactics that you can use to turn the fight around in your favor. When a fight first starts, most likely two opponents will be running at each other. Now, either one is going to be running at the other, or they're both going to be running at the same time. You can do one of two things at this point. If you think that that person is going to attack, you can either see them charge up and attack, or you just have a feeling that they're going to come at you. You can hold up your block as soon as they get close enough to you, and hopefully you'll get a stagger on them and you can start the fight off that way. Another way is a lot of people like to run in and then throw up a block assuming that the person is going to attack them, and you can push. Now, if you're the aggressor and you're running in, a lot of times what I like to do is I'm going to anticipate that person's going to block thinking that I'm going to attack, and I'm going to shove as soon as I get close enough to them and hopefully start the fight off with a stagger. And if not, we've shoved, we might have gotten hit, but at least we're not staggered and we can continue the fight from there. So starting off, I like to, if I'm the aggressor and I'm running towards the person, I will throw a shove and hopefully stagger the opponent and get an advantage early on in the fight. But if I'm the defender and someone's running at me, a lot of times I'll either shove or block. I usually won't throw up an attack because they might see that coming and block and counter that. As soon as you start in a fight and you end up getting a stagger on an opponent, one of the best things to try first is after you staggered the opponent, you want to charge up a full swing and hit them with that. And then directly after, hit a shove, hoping that the opponent is going to block, trying to limit more damage coming his way. Now, if that takes, you'll stagger them again and you get another full swing at them. And you can go one of two ways from here. You can throw up a block thinking that they're going to attack this time, or you can shove once more, hoping that they're going to block again. Really what I like to do is, based on, I don't know, what the player seems to be, like what kind of skill level they have. Like if it seems like they might not be that experienced, I'll try and shove 2 times in a row after staggering them. Or If they do seem like they have a little bit of knowledge of the game, or if I get the impression that they've played a little bit, if I hit them with a shove and they get staggered and I get a full hit in, a lot of times the next step is to block, and hoping that they're going to swing back to try and change the fight around. And then you get a whole nother stagger to get a full swing in. On the other hand, if you are the one that gets staggered and hit with a full hit, I know the first instinct is to throw up a block to try and limit the damage coming your way, but that is the absolute worst thing you could do, because if you end up doing that, you can find yourself dead in a matter of 10 or 12 seconds. Because if you continue to block after getting hit, they're just going to keep pushing you. And I'll have an example later on of me doing this to someone. I keep pushing them after I've hit a full hit, and they're out within 10 seconds or so. So whenever you get staggered and hit afterwards, the worst thing you could do is throw up a block, because the likely scenario is they're going to push and stagger you again, and you've just lost at least 15 more health points after that second stagger. Instead of throwing up a block right after you've been staggered and hit, what you want to do is either push or hit back. Now, both of those can be countered, just like in any rock, paper, scissors scenario, but the odds are more in your favor than if you were trying to block after a stagger. So you want to either push after getting staggered and hit, or you want to hit back and try and change up the fight. Another thing you could do is you could back off or try and run just a bit, just to get your distance, and try and regroup from there and try and change the fight around. But if you're going to stand there and fight, you want to push or hit back as soon as you've been staggered and hit with a full charge hit. That's going to give you the best chance to get back and change the fight around. Now, if you're in a fight and you think it's going okay, or you may need to change it up just a little bit to even the odds, there are a couple things that you can do. So a lot of times what I like to do is, if I feel like I might be losing the fight, or I might end up losing the fight if I keep fighting, I'll try and back off a little bit, or I'll run and turn around, and I'll pull out my range weapon if I have one. Bows are really cheap to create, and it's really going to give you an advantage in this case. So you pull out your bow and you start shooting, even if you don't shoot and you just pretend you're going to. A lot of times that opponent will run at you and try and hit, and at that point you can throw up your block and stagger them, and then change the fight from there. It's kind of a bait and switch. So you're running and you're pulling out your range weapon, making them think that you're just going to shoot them with the arrows, and then as soon as they get close enough, you pull out your melee weapon and block, turn in the tables on them, and now you have control of the fight. Another move that I like to do here is, and I'll put up an example, it's sort of a spin move. So if I am going towards a player and I see them throw up the block, and if I'm already trying to swing, I will turn to the left or the right, and so I intentionally miss them with that swing so I don't get staggered, and then I'll make a complete 360 and face them again and have my block up. So I'll fully charge hit, and I'll turn around and miss on purpose, and then face them again with my block. A lot of times what they're going to do is they'll see you turn around and they're going to pursue, and they're going to try and hit your back. But if you turn around really fast and block, now you have them staggered, and you can go along your way and change the fight around. So that's a good move that I found out just randomly. I was swinging away at someone and I kept getting blocked by them, and so what I did is I fully charged, noticed that they were going to block again, missed them on purpose, and turned around and blocked really fast, and I ended up staggering them and changed the fight. So that's one strategy that I like to do. Another one, like I said, the bait and switch, where you pull out a range weapon and then change back to your melee when they get close. A whole other thing that you could do is just run away if you think that you're going to lose the fight, to try and either get away from them completely, or at least create that distance where you can use the range weapon, or rethink your strategy on how you can try and defeat the person. And last but not least, as far as the general combat strategies go, is having your range weapon and actually using it before you get in a melee altercation. So a lot of times, if you have seen any of my gameplay video, or if you watch that combat montage, a lot of times what I do is I'll pick away at the player when we have a distance, and I'll shoot them with the range weapon. And a good amount of times, I'll hit with a couple shots before we get in melee combat, and so they're already at a disadvantage because I've taken away about 20 health points if I've hit with 2 shots. So, and even more if you can be a little bit more accurate, but just that little bit of an edge can give you an advantage and ultimately win you the fight at the very end. So I would definitely recommend having a ranged weapon on you at all times. A crafted bow is extremely cheap to make, and the ammo for it is just from a branch, and it costs 3 funk for every 6 arrows, so you're not really losing anything, and it can really turn the tides in every single fight that you have. Alright, next we're going to go over some examples that I have. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let the gameplay footage play out, and then I'll come back to it. We'll play it in half speed, and I'll go over exactly what I did, and then I'll also show a couple that things didn't quite go my way, just so you can get an example of what I did wrong, what I could have done to do a little bit better.
You just beat that contestant to death! You are a killer!
4
Killer!
contestants are alive.
Wow, you just beat them into their grave! Ashes to ashes, dust to dust in the wind. The end. Yes!
Alright, so let's get into it. I fought this guy earlier in this match, so I had a little bit of knowledge on him, but he's a little unpredictable to fight, and so I just tried to get a stagger on him to start it off, and then I ended up pushing like you saw there. I tried pushing again, it didn't go through, and so I tried to throw up a block this time, and it ended up working. And I ended up taking him out because of that. Now this next guy, I noticed he's been down there the whole time. I don't know what he was doing, but right now I can tell he's just trying to waste my arrows. And so I decided not to shoot and instead go after him. Instead of wasting my time shooting, I'll just go after him and take him on. I'm feeling pretty confident anyway after just killing a player. I have full health, so we'll just take him on. And you see right there, if I would have swung right in the beginning, charging up, he would have blocked me and I would have been staggered. At this point, it didn't really matter because we didn't get that stagger, but we just keep going. So this guy, he ends up hitting me with like 4 or 5 hits within a matter of seconds, and I don't know how that blade must be really fast, because once I got staggered, he hit me like 3 times, and you could tell I'm bleeding at this point, so I back off, and I do the little bait and switch trick that I was talking about. I pull out my bow, hit him once, pull out my melee, block, and he hits, and I stagger him. Hit and push, hit and block, just in case he swings back. Now if I would have pushed there again, I would have got another stagger and I would have been able to do another full blow on him. But instead I blocked thinking that he was going to hit back. Now something really strange here, I don't know what was going on, but he backed up all the way and he starts to heal right in front of me, and I guess I don't notice that, and I decide to push for some reason. I think it just threw me off, but either way, he's kind of done at this point. I block, I push him to stagger him again, hit, full hit, block. I see that he's not blocking anymore. I end up staggering him and I push him, and then in comes the third contestant. Now, he looks like a wild man, so I'm guessing right now that he's not very skilled. We'll see though. So I get a full hit, I push. Didn't think it was gonna work, so I pushed again. So I try again. Full hit push, full hit push, and sure enough it's gonna work. This time I'm gonna block because I changed it up. Full hit and push again, and now he's done. And like I said before, if you do block after getting a full hit on you, after a stagger, you're just opening up the door for more damage to come your way, and it's just not going to go your way. That match is going to be over in a matter of seconds. And you saw it right there with the guy in blue. He was dead within about 10 seconds real time because I just kept shoving after a full hit, and then I blocked one time just to throw off that pattern, and he was done. Now to start this fight off, you can see that we have a pretty good distance between each other to start the fight. So what I do is I pull out my ranged weapons and start trying to chip away at him. So you can see I actually hit with a bow hit, and then I decide to use the magnum that I have on me. I end up missing a few shots here. He's doing a good job dodging, but I do end up getting a couple shots in as he's getting a little closer to me. Now to make this fight even worse for me, he has 9 kills in the match, and this is the first person I've seen, so I'm kind of intimidated to begin with. So he gets close and starts hitting me, and I get staggered right off the bat, and it's not looking great for me. But you see I didn't block after I got staggered because he would have hit me again, and I'd pretty much be dead. But still, the fight goes on. I'm not finding much success. I did hit him with one hit, but I'm about to get staggered once more from hitting when he's blocking. He's going to hit me. I still don't block after he hits, but I get hit anyway. My dig deep actually saves me and gives me 10 health again. I ended up catching him with a hit, blocking, and then hitting him again. And you can see, even though I was pretty far behind in that fight, I came back, had 10 health left because of my dig deep, and just making a couple quick, smart decisions won me the fight in the end. But like I said, that guy, I felt bad because he had 9 kills. Pretty much dominated the entire match. That was literally the first person I saw, and ended up winning the fight. Felt bad. Had no way to contact him either because of the gamer tag issue that was going on back then. But you can see 110 damage. That was all to him. I didn't touch a single other player. So let's move on to the next one.
Somebody got shot with a bow. Their loss is noted. They lost all their funk. Yes! The last thing you have to worry about here is 25 to life.
Now once again, this one starts at range, and so I'm using my bow to try and get as much damage to him as possible. He comes in, and I'm trying to bait him into coming in for a hit so I can block him, but I end up putting my block up a little bit too late and I get hit. Then I swing back and he blocks, and I get hit again. Now I decide to hit back this time so I don't get the same fate. And then when he misses, I hit and throw out my block and stagger him. I hit and push, and then hit again. And I back off a little bit and go for a full charge hit, just hoping to get him, and I do. At that point, he starts to back off, and he doesn't know I have a rifle on me. And now he starts running around, so I'm just waiting. Since he's staying back, I'm just waiting to line up my shot, waiting for the right moment, and I get him. And now I get to use the katana for the rest of the match and hopefully win the rest of the fights going forward. But you can see there that just taking the extra time to change my strategy really won me the match there.
Yes! You can call yourself Widowmaker. Court of honor.
Okay, now we'll go over one that doesn't end up with a win in the end. I do end up getting this guy with a couple bow shots, and this next guy is really weak, but I could have played it a lot better. But I end up wasting my health and my time trying to kill this guy when I could have played it easier. I could have just pushed him here. When people are really low in health, they're usually going to block. I could have pushed and then hit. And so I end up paying for it. The next person hits me with dynamite, and now I'm crippled and staggered and I can't see. And he comes up and gets me with a hit, but I end up turning the tables a little bit. And from here, I kind of start losing it a bit. I have about half the health he does remaining, and so I decide to back off and run away a little bit to try and get some distance between us. I pull out my magnum and hope to turn around and shoot him, but I didn't realize he was so close. So I end up paying for that. I also turn around again, try and shoot him with arrow. Second mistake. So now I'm just all melee here, and so I get my stagger in, and somehow I crouched and I missed my full hit. So I'm back standing. I go for a full swing after he hits me here, and it would have really taken some health off, but I miss again, and he ends up just hitting me one time to finish me off. So not the greatest fight ever, and it could have gone my way had I played it a little differently, but that's how it works in this game. If you're not on your toes and you're not at your best, then you could end up losing to anybody, really. I mean, I could have won that match, but he ended up beating me pretty fair and square there. Alright, so that'll do it for the gameplay videos. I hope those were some good examples to show you some things that I've done well that have gotten me victories in matches, as well as some things that I could have done better in order to come up on top. Like I said before, this guide is not going to cover every scenario that you possibly can come across in the Culling, because everything can be so random. But if you look at some of the examples that I've played while I was talking, as well as some of the ones that I broke down, you can kind of see my train of thought and the process that I go through for every fight. And you can see that I, take the time to back off, readjust, and then go back into it and hopefully turn it around. There were some good examples where I completely dominated some people, as well as some examples that I struggled to finish them off in time. And then at the very end, like you saw, I made some terrible mistakes and ended up paying the price. But I hope this guide was helpful for you, and that you can really take something from this and become a better player and win some matches, win more fights. It's a lot of fun once you get into it and you start getting better at the game. Like I said before, if you do enjoy this content, definitely give me a like. If you thought I did something wrong or you disagreed, let me know in the comment section below. And also subscribe for more content. I can pump out more videos like this. It takes a little bit of time, but they're entertaining for me to do, and I hope that they do help some people out. You can follow me on Twitter and Mixer. I'll put the links in the description below. But until next time, I'll see you later.